Let's give it up for Coach Ben Bullock.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate having me. I appreciate Excel Speak for having us here. And again, anytime we can talk football, and obviously we just follow two great coaches that are talking about how you build a program, and obviously their programs are at the pinnacle of it. And again, we're trying to do that right now as a restart. We got hired last March at Ocoee, my staff and I, and had probably one of the better seasons we've had at Ocoee in 9 years. We were 4-2 in the district, which is the first winning season ever in district play, and a lot of it had to go back to what they were just talking about how we build our program. And a lot of the same things that they were talking about, successful programs talk about all the time. We talk about that with our kids, that if you want to be a successful person, the traits are the same. Now, we go about saying it and teaching it maybe in different ways than a POPCO or a DP or us in different programs, but the successful habits and what you're trying to teach your young men are the same. How they're going to be successful as a carpenter or a teacher or a businessman or a football player, it's all the same stuff. It's all the same successful habits. I'm going to talk, after following those two guys, I'm going to talk a lot about how we do things from a football standpoint, schematically. We build our entire program around our defense. And we did at Mount Dora, we did when I was in college football. And to give you guys a little bit of background, I'm a newer guy to Florida. I've only been in Florida for 4 years. I moved down here in July of 2012. Give you a little more background about myself. I was in Division III football for about 10 years in New York. That's where I grew up. My wife lived here in Florida during those 10 years, and the last 2.5 years I was chasing college football. It was hard on our family and our ability to continue our lives together. So I decided to move here to Florida, and I was very fortunate. Coach Grabowski gave me a chance at Mount Dora, and the rest is history. But the same stuff we ended my time at college football is the same stuff we use here at Ocoee. It's exactly the same. We do try to make the teaching, a lot of what you're here today is same as. We try to make it so what you see and what you think and when you hear, when I first started teaching this stuff, sounds very complicated, all right? It's not for our guys, because usually on most of our defenses, you're doing the same as other defenses. So 9 out of the 11 guys on our defense are doing the same thing as 7 other different defenses that we play, all right? We are a dictate tempo defense. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our philosophy defensively and why we do what we do. We are pressure oriented. Right? Coach Wells talks about not being as much pressure oriented. We are. That's who we are. That's what we believe in. When I was at our 2 Division III schools in college, when I was at Mount Dora and here at Ocoee, we were never the team on a routine basis going to step on the field and have superior talent. I don't know if I want to be in a program like that, because it allowed me as a coach to be creative, to try to find a way to take our guys who maybe aren't the biggest, fastest, strongest guys, we're trying to get them there, but maybe they aren't, we're still got to try to win the football game. How can we put our guys in the best position possible to be successful? And for us, defensively, it's to be able to pressure and create stress on an offense on a play-by-play basis. Okay, making sure they're able to do that. And the world we live in college football where I was at, and even in high school football here, is that you'll see a different offense every single week. And we felt, as I was leaving college football, this is exactly the same defense we were using my last year at Hartwood College. Because of that, the 3-4 was what we wanted to do. It was more versatile and was able to dictate and to match up and be flexible to all the different offenses we see. When I was in college football, we saw Paul Johnson's Navy-style option attack. We saw spread the next week. We saw spread the run. We saw spread the pass. We saw air raid teams. All right, here in high school football, we'll play a single wing team. When I was at Mount Dora, we played Merritt Island, was playing triple option. We'll then go see a team that's going to be 5 wide. We're going to play Lake Nona, who's going to be in quads on one side, single receiver on the other. So we had to figure out a way to make sure we can match all that stuff, but still be simple to teach our kids. Make sure we didn't have a lot of things that had to check and do different things. So all it comes down to is tempo for us. We talk about tempo on offense, and tempo is a big word on offensive football nowadays, but defensively, we want the same thing. We want to dictate tempo to the offense. We want to play offense on defense. Rarely do you watch any of our film that you'll see us playing a defense where, the typical thing a lot of people learn and we're taught, where you kind of play defense. You're sitting there reading, reacting, and trying to figure out what the offense is doing, then you go find the ball and play. We attack the offense and almost run offensive plays on defense. I'm going to show you here in a second what I mean to be more clear on that. But we want to play offense on defense. We want to take the fight to them, not let them dictate to us, especially in the world we live in with different offenses we see. A lot of the stuff I got was when I was a graduate assistant. Don Brown is now the defensive coordinator at Boston College. He was the head coach at UMass for a long time. Very successful coach. And this is the same system he was running, and the reason why is that he believed he read a book called The Art of War, and it was a strategic book about battle from a guy that lived 16, maybe 2,000 years ago, 1,600, 2,000 years ago. And the biggest thing we're trying to do is put constant stress on an offense. If you're worried about us and where our guys are going on a play-by-play basis, you've got to think about a lot of things. If your target, if I'm an offensive tackle, my target's going to be in the same spot. That defensive end's going to be in the same spot every single play for 70 plays in an entire game. It's a little bit easier. It's a little bit easier for you to know what you're doing. But if that defensive end's moving constantly, every single play, he's never in the same spot. It puts more stress on you, especially up front. So we're trying to dictate tempo to the offense, especially the guys that are the most important, that's the offensive line. All right, we're trying to make them not as confident in their abilities up front. We want to attack to create change. We take our blitz packages, which I'll show you our two main ones, and on Saturday and Sunday when most teams are game planning, our game plan is trying to figure out, okay, this team, Team A, this is what they want to do. This is who they are. Okay, how do we take our blitz package and take that away? We want to take away their number one thing, whatever it might be. They're a power team, they're an ISO team, they throw the ball, whatever it might be. We want to take that away and create change. We want them to do something that they're not want to do. They got to do something else. They're not going to beat us with this. And we do that by pressuring them and putting them in situations where, again, they have to create change. Now, Coach Wells talked about it. You got to plan a lot of man-to-man. We pressure probably. My first year at Mount Dora, we're 65% after self-scouting. Second year, we're 68%. This year at Ocoee, we're 76% of the time we were pressuring. We're bringing 5 guys or more. Okay. Now with that, we don't play man-to-man. We're a zone match team, which I'm going to talk to you about a little bit. We don't sell the farm. Okay. A lot of people, you talk about, okay, we're going to pressure. We're going to be a high-pressure team. We're going to be aggressive. And it's talking about man-to-man. We rarely play man-to-man, ever. We don't play man-to-man. We're a zone match team, and we'll talk a little bit more about how that actually operates and how we match to it. All right, lastly, all right, I'm going to say this. Some of you I've seen in the room have been at some of our coaching clinics, have heard me talk before. All right, I'm going to kill some sacred cows today in this room about defense and about how football is taught. We try to be on a very cutting edge and do some different things that for a long time have been taught a certain way. And when I talked about them for the first time, some people, it's hard to wrap your mind around. But until you get into practice and I can show you film and concepts, you come out to one of our coaching clinics, it'll start to make a lot more sense about how we want to teach the game. In the world we live in right now, and it's kind of my one PSA moment here, getting on my soapbox, is that if you don't adapt the game, and that's what we're trying to do defensively and how we teach the actual game, the skills, and how to play football, if we don't adapt the game and start changing the game a little bit, unfortunately, in the world we live in, and I don't like it as much either, but again, you either adapt or you die. Just like an animal or the dinosaurs that didn't evolve, man. All right, you adapt to die. If we don't change the game, we might not have a game to coach here very soon. So again, that's my big thing, is trying to find ways, how can we be more progressive about finding ways to enhance the game and make it not only safer for the guys, but also some of it more fun for these guys too. They enjoy playing defense for us because they get to attack, play offense. All right. Why do guys sometimes prefer basketball over football as a sport? Because it's up and down the court. You're able to play a lot more, and again, it's a little bit more fun for them. So we try to create all that into a system that we attack. Okay. So we talk about blitzing pass, not gaps. Coach Wells was talking about blitzing gaps. Most of you, if you learn about defensive football, you got to blitz. You're blitzing the A gap. That's where you're supposed to be. We don't talk about that. We never talk about it ever. I don't want to hear anybody say anything about gaps. Now we're sound defensively, and we always work to be sound. We talk about being sound, but we never talk about gaps. Here's my big reason why. If you talk about offensive football, offensive coaches, like the one in the back, are trying to take a gap and move that gap somewhere else. So if they're pulling a guard, that gap that was there is no longer there anymore. It's on the other side of the field. Okay, so if you just tell the guys you're always going to this gap and you're blitzing that gap is gone. It's moved. So you're not blitzing him somewhere that really doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't exist. It's over on the other side of the field. So offenses move. All right. So if we want to be a offensive-minded defense and attack, we've got to adapt to what they're trying to do. We've got to move with that gap. We've got to go somewhere else. So we talk about paths, all right, not gaps. And I'll talk about how we drill that. All right. It's not as complicated as it seems. We drill it on a daily basis, and we really make a big part of who we are. Okay, it's sometimes hard to figure out what we're doing at times defensively because We don't sit in a traditional mindset of, okay, that linebacker's definitely blitzing the C gap. Well, he might be on one play, and the same exact stinking blitz, he might be blitzing the B gap because of what you're doing offensively. I'm going to get in that. Just bear with me for a second. We're going to get in that a little bit. Some stuff you might have heard before. Our two main blitzes, I'll go through two of them, are bullet and bomb, and I'm going to talk about both of them in a second. Bullet is more of a run-based blitz. So if you're, again, playing a team that's run-based and you know they're going to run tight end side 80% of the time, we'll run bullet 80% of the time to their tight end side. Okay, we want to take that away. Bomb is a fail-safe for everything. Bomb for us is we run into anything. If we're not sure, if all of a sudden an offense comes out and empty and they've never been an empty before, we'll run this blitz because we feel it matches to everything. Okay, we can fit it up to everything. So first one's bullet, and we are, and talk a little bit about this as philosophy-wise as I get into actual scheme, is we are a field boundary defense. We don't teach strengths. I don't teach a passing strength. I don't teach a run strength. We don't have to. We never do. We don't waste the time and practice to teach it. You only have one thing in common on that field with the other team, and it's the field. You're all playing on the same field. You're all playing on the same dimensions. So we defend the field along with the offense, but we defend the field first because that's the one thing that's constant. That's the one thing that's not going to move. You're going to have 100 yards to each goal line. You're going to have a certain width. You're going to have certain hashes. So especially in high school with the hashes being wider, we are a field boundary team. So we set our defense based on the field. So for example, if this is the hash, that's the wide side of the field, we have a certain amount of guys go to the field and go to the boundary. So our field corner, Buck, Hawk, Sam, and always travel together. Now that makes it really simple because if we run a field side blitz, they can all talk to each other. Hey, you're doing this, you're doing that. They can communicate. They can make sure everybody's on the same page. They're always together. Our Mike, tackle, Will, free safety, boundary corner are always together on the boundary side. So when we get out there practice on Monday, we're not teaching, okay, the tight end's the run strength, and you got multiple receivers over here, that's a pass strength. Nope, we don't waste time doing it. We teach field boundary. Okay, ball's on the right hash, where's the hawk call? Left, everybody lines up. We teach how to line up in about 6 seconds. Okay, it's really quick. I don't want to waste time teaching them how to line up. We line up to the field, and then we adjust to the formation from there. So they know what side of the field to get on. So if we get up against a team that is higher tempo teams, we don't have to wait for them to get out of the huddle to line up. We're already lined up. As soon as the ball is set down on the hash, hawk left, okay, we're already ready to go. Then we line up per the formation. We don't have to look around, wait for the formation to come out. Oh, tight end's on this side. All right, I gotta come over here and get set up. No, we're already ready to go. Our call's already ready. We're standing there waiting for the offense. Again, we want to dictate the tempo, not let the offense dictate tempo to us. All right, so we're field boundary. So all of our blitzes can be tagged different directions we want to go. All right, we teach them all to the field first. And the great thing about being a field boundary defense is that everything is mirrored. So we teach everything in half fields. So on Monday, when we start teaching our blitz packages, we take the Mike and the Will and we put them in lines behind this guy and get them on cans, and we teach the same blitz to them over and over again. Because we just tell them, okay, we're going to run bomb to the field. Go. So they know it's the field side guys. Okay, we're going to run bomb to the boundary. That's the boundary side guys. It's exactly mirrored. Everything's the same. It's a mirrored defense. Okay, so again, it's reducing the amount of teaching time that we have to have. All right? If you can learn Buck, you know Will. You just line up in the boundary. It's exactly the same thing. So if my best backup is a backup for our Will, all right, and our Buck gets hurt, I don't need to put the second Buck in. I can put the second Will in because he knows exactly what he's doing. It makes the teaching reduce quickly. Oh, my bad. All right, teaching reduce quickly. All right, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be very complicated, and it looks complicated, and we're all over the place, and it looks like there's 11 guys going nuts out there. All right, but when we teach it, that's the important part. It's how and why you teach it. And we teach it in a way so that way it's very simple and not complicated for them, and not complicated for me either. All right, we get in the game, we know where the issues are. We know we can put guys in different spots. If our second free safety is our next best safety and our hawk gets hurt, he goes in at hawk. He should know it. There's no, but he only knows free safety, coach. No, he should know both safety spots because it's all mirrored. It's all the same. It's just what side of the field you line up on. I'm now on the field side. That's it. Okay, so we're trying to make it very simple for them. So let's actually get into what bullet is. Bullet for us is a crash blitz and a contain blitz. We'll talk about those terms there in a second. Our Buck is the crash blitzer. And again, notice as I draw these, Coach Bullock, why are you drawing them through guys? I'll talk about those in a second. All right. Again, we don't blitz gaps, we blitz paths. Okay, we blitz paths. So our rule for our buck is that his job is to blitz the outside foot of the end man line of scrimmage. Okay, outside foot of the end man line of scrimmage. Our rule for our Sam is that from depth, he's going to blitz the outside foot of the last man line of scrimmage. And then our end is a long stick technique. He's a two-gap movement. Coach Bullock, good friend of Coach Darlington, when I first got hired at Mount Dora, Coach Fuller told me I was insane and I should go back to college football. You're nuts. There's no way a defensive end in high school is going to be able to do that. And I told him, give me a week, and I guarantee all of our guys will be able to do it. And he owed me beers after that. So he did. So the biggest thing is that when you look at the two-gap movement, our long stick guy, all right? So we terminate a long stick because it looks like a hockey stick, a long stick. So it's not just a slant to a gap. We rep the heck out of this on cans nonstop. You don't need a scout team. One of the biggest pet peeves I have in defensive football is I'm finding every day a way to eliminate scout teams. I hate scout teams. They drive me nuts as a defense coach. I try to find ways every single day. We never ever have to use scout teams again. We're getting to that point almost where I don't need to have a scout team. All right? It'd be a lot easier if Coach Darling stopped running that single in. But let me give you an example. Okay, Coach, because you're sitting up front, you get to be the look guy. All right. So he is the offensive guard. You can face these guys. Okay, our long stick guys, and again, you have to rep it, and we rep it a ton, but this is who we are. We want to attack, we want to be an offensive defense, all right? Is that our defensive ends are taught to, just like most people when they teach movements as defensive linemen, is that they want to narrow their stance, be able to move quickly, have more weight on their feet, all the same stuff, all right? But it's a shuffle technique, and we literally get our defensive line on garbage cans, and they do this until their legs fall off, until they can't do it anymore. And if they still can't long stick, then we get them on cans more and make them do it over again. Because it's who we are. It's what we want to do. So again, if you have a 180-pound defensive end like we did at Mount Dora, and you want to try to go toe-to-toe with Merritt Island, all right, maybe this is the way to go. If you're sitting there in a 5 technique and you're telling that 180-pound defensive end that that's the only guy you got, he's a great kid, work his tail off, knows the defense, but he's 180 pounds, and that guy's 6'5" and 280, all right, and you're going to sit here all day and hold the edge. You're just insane. You're not going to play great defense. So we're trying to, again, the whole reason we built this program is that we want to take guys that maybe weren't the biggest, fastest, and strongest, all right, but they're going to play great defense still, all right, just because they're not the biggest, fastest, and strongest, we can still do it. We want to create a competitive edge. So with our long stick technique, there's going to be an offensive tackle. I'm the defensive end. He's the guard. All we work on is once we work on cans, we then put a look guy here, and all he's going to do for me, Coach, is either pick one direction. You can go down or you can come at me. That's all I want you to do when I say go. All right? And their job is to shuffle with their eyes on it. Now, it's not this, okay? Everyone's like, well, Coach, your defensive end's going to be standing up in the air like a linebacker. No. Literally, he's from his defensive line stance, he's going and picking his hand up and shuffling. He never leaves his stance. He shuffles from his stance. Again, we drill it. We work it a lot. And some of you are probably looking at me like, that's insanity. He's not going to be able to do that. Trust me, we can do it. All right, like I said, we're going to kill some sacred cows here, what you think guys can do in defensive football. So as he shuffles, his eyes go right to the guy that we did the drawing on. So his long stick is the guard. And depending on what he does, that's where he's going to insert. So if he goes down, go ahead and go down, Coach. Boom, back door. And I'm trying to scrape his butt. I want to see sparks off his butt. Okay, that's how tight you should be. If he comes at me, and this is the harder part, this is why you have to teach your defensive ends to be off the ball a little bit more, is that if he comes at me, I shuffle, he comes at me, I want one more, and then I'm inserting here. Okay, so in that 2 situation sequence I just gave you, the defensive end inserted in the B gap one time and the A gap the other. We don't talk about gaps. We talk about pass and reads. So again, if you're running a run play away from him, he's going to try to backdoor it. If you try to come here and run at him, he's now going to go A gap and fit in there. Okay, so we're trying to make that offensive guard wrong. We're trying to make that offensive guard go, you know, what is he trying to do? Like, try to figure out where he's going. Constant movement everywhere. So we're never a sitting target. Okay, so that's the biggest part, is that defensive end. Because in most of our blitzes, to the side of the blitz, our defensive end is a long stick technique. All right, most of our blitzes that we have, he's doing that. All right, and again, his job is to make sure that anything that gets in the middle of the field, he's got to take off. Now, Our buck is our crash blitzer, and we work, again, all on cans. I don't need a scout team to work this. We just work on garbage cans. His job is to read the outside foot of the tackle. So on his path, his toe is literally pointed right at the foot of the tackle, and he's running. And as soon as he gets a read from that tackle, he takes off and chases the football. So the last man on the line of scrimmage, just like the defensive end, that last man on the line of scrimmage comes at him. Where's he going, Coach? What do you think? Just like the defensive end, if that guy comes at him, where's he going? Right. It's going underneath. If that guy goes down, he sparks the butt. So again, we drill it. Coach, come up. Same thing as defensive ends. We drill it constantly. He's going to be pointed here, all right? And as we get better and the kids learn it, they can show it, they can hide it, they can pretend they're playing man-on-man on this guy. All right, we have a kid, about a 6'3" kid, Listen Barber, who has made a living off this. This is what he does. About 17 tackles for a loss last year because he's really good at this. Is that as soon as he goes, if that guy's going down and run away, he is right off his butt chasing the football down. He has no contained responsibility. Forget it. He doesn't have any of what Coach Wells is talking about, containing the football. If there's a boot, that's not his job. If it's any kind of zone read, all right, that you see out of offenses, if the back's to that side, let's say large zone read blitz for us, he's chasing the running back no matter what. Okay, he's chasing it. He's just going. He's a crash blitzer. He has no responsibility. You're crashing the party. All right, you're trying to blow everything up, crash everything. If we see teams that are gap scheme teams, like Coach, we get counter coming back, he's the spill player. He's the guy, he's trying to stay as tight as possible to that offensive line as he blitzes down the line of scrimmage. All right, he's trying to take everything out. If that ball hits in the A-gap, they run ISO, if they run inside, whatever it might be, if he doesn't make the tackle, I'm yelling at him usually because he's the guy that's got to make the play. All right, he's coming 100 miles an hour, thanks Coach, 100 miles an hour. And then our Sam, his job in that blitz path is that outside foot. He's your contained responsibility. So if you have a zone read quarterback, his job is to keep the ball on his inside shoulder. We'll talk about leverage here in a second with our outside players. His job is to keep it there. If it's bootleg, off of it, his job is to contain it. He's the contained blitzer. His job is to aim for 1 yard outside the deepest back. So again, no blitz, no, I'm not talking any kind of gaps, all right? He aims for the outside foot of the tackle, and then he's aiming for the 1 yard outside the deepest back. His job is to contain everything. So what we're trying to do is gap exchange, just like the offense is trying to do. If you're a power running offense and you pull somebody, you're trying to take one gap and move it somewhere else. What we're trying to do defensively is show one thing and then attack your offense, and whatever you do, wherever your guys go, we're going to fit it to try to make you wrong. Now, just like football, they practice too, all right? And there's issues in there that I can talk about that our guys, if we struggle to stop something, like for example, if we, on this blitz, I know exactly what's wrong the moment it happens. Say they run inside zone and that thing hits and we get like a 10-yard gain, Mike makes a tackle, it's like an 8-yard gain. I know immediately what the problem was. It's launch stick guy. Immediately. I don't need to see the film. I know exactly what happened. Launch stick guy got pinned. So something happened here with the tackle and the guard where the tackle might have pinned him and reached him, or the guard pinned him, and that's why it's a practice thing. We practice it nonstop about teaching him how to narrow his stance, be off the ball, and how to shuffle, and how to get into the gap properly. Again, if anything, we want him on these blitzes. If you're going to get moved as he shuffles, if these guys are going to try to move you, that's fine. Get washed down the line of scrimmage because the crash blitzer is the one that's free.
What's your nose doing on that play?
He's going opposite direction. So playing nose guard in our defense is about the simplest thing you can do in football. All right, if we're blitzing from the left, you're going where? Right. If we're blitzing from the right, you're going where? Left.
What about your tackle?
Yep, outside. So if we put him here at 5, he just stays there. If he's here in our eye front, he slants outside. He's the contained guy. So one of the issues that we have is we had a guy that was supremely talented. He had to learn this. Is that because we pressure so much and everybody sees it coming, is that if it's passed and he bails, he tends to bail away from the blitz. Is that these guys try to do their own darn thing and pass rush like they're Dwight Freeney, and the guy gets outside, and I scream at them. Their job is to get that, again, 1 yard outside the deepest back and hold it. Again, usually we're such a field blitz team, all right? We want to defend the field. All right, what's the smallest part of the field? It's the boundary. Okay, we put usually our not as athletic outside linebacker is into the boundary. We hide them into the boundary. You got a guy that can't play as well in space, put him into the boundary. That's why we're a field boundary team. He's got less space to play in. So if anything, because we blitz so much from the field, if this guy can just hold edge and don't let things get outside of you, our blitz guys are coming. The defensive end is coming. The crash blitzer is coming. Okay? Real quick before Coach ends me, our bomb blitz, long stick, inside leg of the tackle, 1 yard outside the deepest back. Okay. Again, defensive end, do the same thing. So in most of our blitzes, did you hear a blitz call on your side? Yeah. What do you got? Long stick. For like 7 different blitzes. It's same as teaching. So we can run all these different crazy blitzes and all stuff, but for 9 out of 11 guys on that team, it's the same thing. Our secondary, because most of it, again, I was going to talk about our zone matchup, our 3 deep, 3 under, all right? It's all mirrored, it's all the same. So if you hear blitz on your side, your skiff, and if we have time at the end with questions, you can ask me what those things mean. He's top of the triangle, he's skiff, he's cover 3. So we're a big 3 deep, 3 under team. And it's all match. So again, how do I teach the linebackers? I teach 4 linebackers at a time. I'm the linebackers coach. They get the head coach as the linebackers coach. It's exciting for them. They get on cans. Okay, we're gonna go bomb trio. No tag, so that means it's coming from the field. They run bomb, we're on these cans. They run bomb. These guys know I'm final 3 and I'm skiff. They drop to where they need to be. Okay, let's go bomb away. So now the boundary side guys are blitzing. Boom, the other guys drop. And we just rep and rep and rep and rep and rep. And it's not about what you teach, it's how you teach it. That is the biggest thing when it comes into this, is that the reason why we could be all over the place and look very complicated, and we run a lot of different stuff, is that it's how we teach it. Again, the only guys doing anything different, in that defense compared to this defense are those 2 guys. That's it. Everybody else is doing the same thing. So I say bomb trio, or I say bullet trio, 9 out of 11 guys are doing the same thing as they would in these 2 different blitzes on our 2 guys. We teach those pass. It's really easy for the safeties. Safeties, if you hear a blitz from the field side, you're skiff, you're top of the triangle. If you hear it from your side, you're skiff, you're top of the triangle. That's the glory of being a field boundary team and being mirrored, is that you only have to teach half side. So on Monday, when we start practice, we'll teach half side supports. We'll teach them how to play on half the side. And we'll teach half side blitzes. And we'll teach everything from only half the field. So we can just rep and rep and rep and rep and rep. Because the only difference is that they'll be lined up in the boundary when they run it from the boundary side. So it allows us to teach a lot of different things, but in a way that allows them to learn a lot better. And again, going back to Coach Darnell's friend that told me we couldn't long stick, it worked out pretty well. It's about repping it and make sure those guys can do it. Especially if you've got undersized defensive linemen, don't sit there and expect a 3 technique just to hold that guy off. I mean, if you know that guy's smaller, why are we bashing our heads against the wall? All right, this is why we run what we run. All right, we're usually not the bigger, faster, stronger team. When we're at Mount Dora, no doubt about it, we weren't the bigger, faster, stronger team. All right, when I was at the 2 colleges I was at, we were at a small private school. We were nowhere near some of those teams. But again, we had to find a way, an edge, that was going to allow us to play great defense and dictate tempo of the offense. And this zone package was it. You can teach this at the youth level. If you want to come see me, we can talk about it. You can dial this down so that way, literally, because it's field boundary, because it's mirrored, all that stuff, you can teach this at the younger level. No doubt about it.
What's the depth of that buck?
What's up?
What's the depth of that buck?
For him to start the blitz from,
Yep. Yeah.
depends on how comfortable he is in the defense. Our base alignment is 4 yards apex. Okay, so if you've got 2 receivers, your apex between, this is where we teach math in football too, in between the last mile line of scrimmage and the second receiver, you know what I'm saying? But he wants to start his pass. So if you got Listen Barber, who knows, our guy knows for a year now, a year and a half, how to run this blitz, he can line up out here, and as we scout these guys who understand their cadence, he can start to work in and then work the path. The biggest thing is that you've got to be on your path of the snap of the ball. So we don't need to overcoach, like you need to be here, you need to be there, you need to be predictable. Now when we first teach it to freshmen, let me tell you what, that freshman's butt is right here at the line of scrimmage, pointed right there. Like literally, that's the last line of scrimmage, whether it's a tight end or tackle. When we teach freshmen, you're standing right, I don't care he knows you're coming. I don't care. I don't care. And then Coach Bullock ends up being the tackle one time. So what we'll work on another time is that you're the blitzer now. So I just showed you how to do it inside foot up, coming at me, I'll be the tackle. So as these guys start to learn to blitz on cans, non-moving cans, I'll be the offensive tackle. I'll kick to them, and they blitz underneath, or I'll go down, they blitz off me, or I'll kick to them, and they'll blitz high, and then I'll hit them with a bag and knock them right off the path. So again, I'm a little bit younger. As I get older, I can't be as bald as much, but it gives us an opportunity to teach these guys, again, as fast as we can. Defensively, like I said, with the way we run our blitz system, how much we blitz, and again, not giving up the farm, playing a zone blitz team, we're able to minimize the amount of scout team that we have to. Because, again, doesn't matter what level you're at. The NFL, college, high school, your scout team is annoying, and they're not very good, and they don't want to be on scout teams. So why do we have scout teams? Trust me, it's one of the biggest things I'm trying to eliminate in football. Defensively, we run pretty much everything. I can teach a defense, and again, gets a little different when you get up against those single wing teams, coach. But in the world we live in, with all the different teams we see in spread teams, is if you give me 3 cans and two players as guards, I can teach defense and the blitz off that, wherever the read needs to be. So when we go half field blitz on Tuesday, we'll have a defensive end, an outside linebacker, an inside linebacker, and a safety lined up on half field on just half the cans, and we'll have one guy playing guard, and he'll be giving that long stick guy the read of where he needs to go. That guard will go down, or that guard will come at him, and we're running the blitzes off those cans. And I'm usually standing back there as the quarterback, as the deepest back. So whether I'm the tailback or I'm the quarterback, the outside blitzer knows that his butt needs to be 1 yard outside of me, ready to go. So as we finish the blitz, he buzzes down, his feet's right there. And then sometimes I like to have fun in practice, and I'll be the guy at quarterback, and that guy will take the angle that puts him on the front shoulder, and I'll go like this and roll out and throw like a touchdown pass, and I'll throw it in his face a little bit. Again, 1 yard outside the deepest back. It's all about blitz pass for us, not about gaps. So again, you just want to make sure you understand that's what we're trying to do, is that if the offense is trying to move somewhere, why are you blitzing a gap that is not there anymore? And that's what we try to get out of. And with the system that we run, the 3-4 of the field boundary, it matches against a lot of teams that we're going to see no matter what the offense is. We could not scout you and come out and see whatever you were running and start to fit that stuff into it. You know, if you're a run team, it's a run-oriented team first, we're going to probably run bullet at you. You know, we saw a team last year, you're going to see a lot of this in football, where you get zone read teams, all right? So there's your center. I draw it in cans so that way they see objects. Okay, here's your tight end. And you're getting a zone read team that zones everything up, blocks the backside, and they're reading that defensive end who's not very sound. Usually people put that defensive end in there. Not very sound. So this particular team just gashing the heck out of it. This kid has no idea what he needs to do. Should I crash and take the running back? Should I take the quarterback? What, you know, he had no idea. So we saw tape after tape after tape after tape after tape, scoring 50 points, 40 points, 40 points, 50 points, right? Just mauling that one kid. And got to us, they scored 8, and because we got a block punt, our punter dropped the ball in the length of 1. All right. The reason why we were able to take care of this is because we weren't what people consider gap sound. Like you wouldn't say, Coach Bullock's, you know, we're teaching gap soundness. We are, but we're teaching gaps after they've already moved, after the offense has moved those gaps that they want to move. So say we still have that same offense. Yeah, again, I'm only going to draw half field for you because that's all we need to work on. We run bullet to them the entire game. So again, as their guard zoned, their tackle zone, he's coming out here. Okay, that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to 2-on-1 him. He would long stick and backdoor that guard. So if he tries to keep it tight on the handoff, he was standing there. His job, again, was to blitz last man line scrimmage outside as the tame. 1 yard, never getting any deeper than 1 yard outside the deepest back. And his job is that bullet blitz. So he's pulling that tight end. That tight end comes out, I go under. That tight end was going down, I would have stayed tight. So now what you